Hey, 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 it's Fat Albert. You remember that show from back in the day?
Oh, yeah,
No? All
of course
right,
I
folks.
remember it.
Well,
I'm surprised
welcome
you
back.
remember it.
I don't. I wasn't born yet, but
Oh,
I
yeah,
pretty much
whatever.
some
Bye.
reruns. I don't know why that popped into my head because I was going to say, hey, 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 welcome back to LFG, your favorite unfiltered franchise education podcast. I am Michael Hyam and my co-host Leanne Caruso. We are so excited to be back. Leanne, how you doing? How's it going?
I'm good. I finally recovered. As of this recording, we are 1 week past Let's Grow, Fort Worth. And I think we had a really great time. What do you think?
Did we have a really good time? Yeah, I mean, the conference was freaking unbelievable. Like, it was awesome. Yeah, it was so good. Oh my gosh. Well, I had a whole time before, after, and in between. I don't know if I told you about all that rigmarole, but Let's Grow was fantastic. Everyone seemed to love it. The live rodeo. Oh my goodness, the compliments. Huh? How
Yeah,
many times did you
what
hear this was the best after party for a franchise conference of all time? How many times
yes,
did you hear
like do more of that. Yeah, it was awesome. I don't know how we're gonna be able to top ourselves on that one.
that?
But yeah, the live rodeo was so much fun, and I'm still getting texts about how fun it was. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
great way to end the week.
We're definitely never going to top it because you spent every penny we made on that conference.
I did. I did. It was good.
Oh my
It was a
gosh.
great show though. It was like Dallas doesn't know how to handle snow, and somehow we all still made it, most of us, and on the one lane Dallas icy roads, it was
Oh,
crazy.
true.
But everybody came with such a great attitude, and we had to be flexible on a few different things. We had handwritten name tags because those didn't arrive. It was just like one thing after another, but it was really great. But we've got such a great community to be able to support those kinds of challenges. So,
Correction, they did arrive, but it was Monday morning.
oh, it's Friday morning. Friday morning.
Sorry, Friday
Yeah,
morning once
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
conference was over.
They did
Oh
arrive
my
when it
goodness.
was over.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was all
Totally
good.
would not.
And for franchising for good, for those of the people who don't know, we always go into the community where we have an event and we support a charity or organization there. And so the last 3 years we've supported the Ronald McDonald House of Fort Worth. And this year we raised 8250 for the Ronald McDonald House. And we built 240 kid activity kits and 20 family game night kits. And we donated lots of food for their pantry that they had requested, and we filled Ryan Wilkerson, who is the CEO. We filled his entire Suburban. So I was amazed we got it all in there, but we did. And yeah, it was great. It's a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Shoving it all in. Oh my gosh. It was pretty wild.
All right. That's what she said. I'm sorry. What?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, is this button on? Anyways,
Anyway,
well, let's get to it. This podcast is going to be very unique for our listeners. It is still franchisor focused, friends, but we decided to try something a little bit different, and educate you on something completely different. Today we have our guest is Tony Zaccario. Tony, I hope I'm not butchering your last name, but he is the CEO of Stretch Zone. And Leanne, why exactly do we have a franchisor on the podcast?
well, I think they have a big announcement to make, and we were asked by our friends over at Connect Agency to have Tony make an announcement here on our podcast before the IFA. So that's what we're here to do. And I'm a big fan of the stretching industry, so I'm excited to talk to Tony about Stretch Zone and the health effects and all of those good things that stretching can bring to you.
Fantastic. Wow, that's amazing. So all those rejected franchisors that wanted to be on the podcast, you rejected them, but because you're a fan of stretching, So we have stretch zone. Wow. Wow.
Listen.
This is
Wow.
great.
Wow, you're the worst. Okay.
All right. Well, before we get to our franchise royals, this segment is brought to you by Netsertive. Leanne, take it away.
Yes. So if you have listened to this podcast, you know I work with a lot of marketing partners in franchising. And one frustration I hear all the time is disconnected systems, reporting in one place, ad platforms in another, and no clear view of what is actually working locally. That's where Netsertive comes in. They bring localized strategy, expert teams, and their MLX technology platform together so performance data lives in one place and locations can grow more efficiently. If that sounds helpful for your brand, visit netsertive.com to learn more.
Amazing. Love the folks at Netsertive. Leanne, why don't you continue on and tell us who your franchise royal is this week?
Yeah, so my franchise royal, super excited for her. And I think she kind of made the announcement a little bit at Let's Grow, actually, is Amanda Duplantis from FranNet has been promoted to the president. And really excited for all of the things that FranNet is doing this year, and excited for Amanda to take on that role. Jana is still CEO, but I think they're making some big moves, and excited for Amanda to take that on. So congratulations, Amanda, and to FranNet. Michael,
Love it. Love it.
who is your franchise royal?
Well, thank you for asking, Leanne. My franchise royal is a absolute legend, Pete Baldine. Pete is the president over at Moran Brands, and I got Pete for a couple of reasons. Number one, Pete has always supported Franchise Assembly from day one, and he attends every single Let's Grow, and he's so gracious enough to always assist, and he jumps on panels, discussions, and of course, when you're in the industry, not to age you, Pete, for over 40 years, that a lot, and so Pete has always supported us and been great, and you know what? Actually, at this Let's Grow, he told me that it was funny. He was on his panel. Someone was talking about franchise shows, and he told me that he gave me a shameless plug. Actually, I think you mentioned it too, where he was like, you know what, Mike, Mike. He bugs me, he bugged me, and I finally did one of his national franchise shows in Jacksonville, of all places. I just mean that smaller cities don't have crazy traffic like our big cities do. And Pete was like, one show closed a deal. And he's like, those franchise shows work. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. But not only that, there's more. What else did Pete do, you ask? I'm going to tell you. So after our franchise party and, a couple of libations in, this was after the rodeo. You might recall that we all went to another place. And believe it or not, Leanne, they wouldn't let me in. And why wouldn't they let me in? Because I didn't have my ID. And I'm like, I'm 3 decades older than need to be to warrant an ID, but they still wouldn't let me in. But I needed to use the restroom. So I'm like, guys, no worries. I'm going to leave. And long story short, I went to the restroom, but then I was like, you know what? They're not here. And someone was like, oh, they're looking for a guy with a black jacket. So I was like, Pete, give me your hat. So I put Pete's hat on. I took my black jacket off. And then there it was. I decided, you know what? I'm going to stay. And, I had my little incognito disguise, not doing anything illegal because, believe it or not, Leanne, I am over 21. And I just didn't have my ID. So, Pete, thanks 3 times in a row. We love you, brother, and appreciate all your support. Now, before we head off to our show and tell segment, learn more about our sponsor. Leanne, who's our sponsor?
Our sponsor is Papirfly. So we'll take a break for a nice little Papirfly.
Creating marketing materials for your franchise shouldn't be a choice between speed and brand consistency. Papirfly gives local franchises the power to create and adapt brand-approved marketing materials in minutes without needing a designer. With design templates and one central portal, campaigns launch faster, giving you built-in visibility and complete brand governance. See why franchise networks trust Papirfly to deliver thousands of brand-consistent assets at scale. Visit Papirfly.com.
Hey, and we are back for our favorite segment. This is Show and Tell. Of course, for all of you that listen, know that Show and Tell is where we bring on an industry leader, an expert, someone to share some great, wonderful insights, thoughts, ideas in their segment of franchising. Leanne, why don't you take it away and tell us who we have this
Yeah.
week?
Well, we're very excited to have, we're taking a little different direction. We've got a franchisor on with us. We've got Tony Zaccario, CEO of Stretch Zone. I'm a big fan, as I said in the opener, I'm a big fan of assisted stretching. So I'm excited about this conversation. So, Tony, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how, your journey in franchising to start, and then we can go into some exciting announcements.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. And my journey in franchising really began with Stretch Zone. And quite frankly, I had the pleasure of joining Stretch Zone and being exposed to this incredible service when we had just 4 locations. I partnered up with the founder in the early days, as early 2016. And as typical entrepreneurial stories are, when I first interacted with the brand, calling it it was a startup, and calling it dysfunctional is probably being kind to what the business was. I mean, I distinctly remember our hand-me-down furniture and no website. And I remember being, we thought we were one of the coolest kids in the blocks when we got Groupon. Unbeknownst to us, it was like the worst thing ever. Uh, but nonetheless, I fell in love with the service. And once experiencing the stretch zone method and the stretch itself, I really understood that in spite of all that dysfunction, why these 4 units were hyper successful, because they're really changing lives. And so I came on board to kind of help Jordan create the business around the stretch, right? So how do we sell it? How do we price it? How do we market it? Creating all the daily SOPs. And even in the early days, we had no real intention of franchising. Didn't even know what franchising was. We were just trying to scale the business. And so we got to about 10 or 12 corporate locations. Fast forward to about 2017, that's when we first learned of the vehicle of franchising. And it really aligned with our growth strategy, being that it is such a low barrier of entry from a prospective franchisee. Not to minimize the hard work of our entire team here at corporate, but it's a very simple business model, right? There's no waste, spoilage, moving inventory. At the end of the day, we are in the people business, and we're just fortunate to have such an incredible, unique service to offer that differentiates us. And so we started franchising 2017, really just knocked it out of the park. And, fast forward to today, we're sitting at 420 plus locations open, still without a single store failure. And I think it's a real testament, not just to the service, but to our franchisees and our leadership team as a whole.
Oh, that's really exciting. Have you left the United States yet and gone into international territory or?
We actually are
Really?
opening up our second location in Toronto coming up.
Oh.
I will be up there in the middle of February to help with that opening. So Michael, I know I will be dressing warm when I come visit you. But yeah, we're currently in 41 states and now in Canada as well.
Oh, very exciting.
I
Would you
love
guys say
it.
that you're the
Any idea?
oh, sorry, Michael.
I was gonna say, any idea what intersection around Toronto it is, or?
It's Bloor Street.
Oh, okay, sure, sure. So right downtown.
Yep, so right downtown.
Very cool. Sorry, Leanne, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just curious. Were you the first to get into stretching as a business?
Yeah, we were. Jordan Gold, the founder, started with the whole method back in 1999, and he was really doing his way to spend time with his grandfather. And so the story of Stretch Zone was effectively Jordan was an exercise physiologist, started stretching his grandfather, who was bedridden at the time, and really just did it as a way to spend time with him. And then he started realizing that's when he started toying with the patented strapping system that we use today, right? He started understanding that the straps really act as an extra pair of hands, which allow you to get a deeper, more effective stretch. And so he started toying with the method when working with his grandfather, and quickly saw that with repetition and frequency, his grandfather went from, bedridden to walking with a walker to walking with a cane to dancing at his cousin's wedding. And that's kind of like his aha moment as a founder. And he incorporated Stretch Zone in 2004. And really in the early days, Jordan was just going around the world, stretching celebrities, athletes, whoever it might be, him and his table. And it wasn't until 2015 that he decided he wanted to go ahead and try a storefront retail model. But so when you talk about the first and assisted stretching, I mean, yeah, we pioneered the space, and honestly, in the early days, the hardest part was educating the consumer, and trying to understand not just the value proposition of stretching, but the like how Stretch Zone is different, which is why, we're talking about. But that's why this research study is really powerful for our franchisees to help educate the consumer a little bit better and more effectively.
Yeah, so that's actually what I was about to ask. So before you go into this research study is I know that I've had to explain to people
Yeah.
what stretching is. So just for those of you who might not still know what a stretch zone is and what makes you guys different, and then we'll go into your study.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so for us, it's we're the only protocol-based assisted stretch concept out there, right? Or really modality. And so assisted stretching is not new per se, because like, for example, when you get a personal trainer or you have a yoga instructor, there's always, sometimes there is assisted stretching in yoga. But doing it as a sole modality is unique, right? And so what we have always understood when developing the service itself in Jordan is I'm not to bore you with all the different strategies of PNF stretching, different types of stretching. The method that we use at Stretch Zone is one in which we're working with the body and kind of reprogramming your neurological system to allow you to get a more effective and deeper stretch. So for us, we use like a number system, a 3-5-7. So you never should feel any type of discomfort during the stretch. That doesn't mean in the old school way was no pain, no gain. That doesn't mean you're getting a better stretch at all, quite frankly. And quite frankly, it doesn't feel good. And so the other piece is having a strapping system that is patented and unique to us, acts as an extra pair of hands. And where that comes into play is, a lot of our key member base are older or an aging demographic, right? An older cohort. And they can't necessarily get in certain positions on their own, or it's much harder to stretch them. And so when you have that leverage point, you have an extra pair of hands in the strapping system, you're allowed to, or you're able to effectively stretch anyone in the given population, because we're a firm believer, like everyone knows they need to stretch. I think when you divvy up the population, there's kind of two buckets. Those that know they need it and know how to, but are too lazy to do it, which is me, quite frankly. And then there's a larger group of people that simply don't know how to stretch, right? And they don't know what to do. So when you have a trained practitioner using a protocol-based method, it makes a huge, huge difference. And so that's where, we kind of joked about it in the early days, but it's true. It's a service where we do all the work and you get all the benefits. And that's why we've been able to propel so fast to 420 plus locations. And I think ultimately that's why this study showed out as well as it did, because it's not like we didn't create a different service to then test in the study. We just finally found a better way to tell the message of Stretch Zone.
That's great. So before I jump into why what inspired it, what vehicle did you use to really spread across the country? I mean, that is a lot of locations in a short period of time. What did you find that was the most effective?
Within the four walls of our units. And so it was completely organic for most part. Like I remember we didn't even enter a broker network until we had 280 locations open. And so it was completely organic growth. So like we weren't so listen, depending on the concept, right? The nice thing is for us, we have 1,000 square foot box, right? So it's a very simple build out, so we can kind of plug and play. We're pretty agile, pretty flexible, some might say, and how we go about finding units. But so when we were growing on the Fran Dev side, we weren't saying we need to be in California or we need to really target this area. We honestly didn't even do paid ads until 200 locations ish. And so really what we understood is that we had a lot of members that fell in love with the service that said, I need to bring this back home to wherever it is, which is why starting in South Florida, right, you see a massive footprint in the Southeast, but also in the Northeast, there's a heavy footprint, right? Because you have the snowbirds that come down experiencing the service and they want to go ahead and drive that back up to wherever their home is and deliver the service to their community. So that was kind of like, there wasn't maybe shame on us, there wasn't a comprehensive growth strategy, but we really just wanted to leverage, obviously, the passion that came from all of our existing members.
There's a lot of emerging brands who are really jealous of you right now.
I mean, but the lesson for a lot of emerging brands, we say this is like because especially, and listen, being a board member of the IFA, I get the pleasure of working with a lot of emerging brands, and I tell them it's like guys, in the early days, forget about when you get to the point of emerging. I mean, when you have the early adopters, which is what I call, like I'm talking like 10 locations, 20 locations. They're believing in leadership. They're believing in the vision. They're typically believing in the product or service that you're offering. And so you have the most buy-in with your existing customers, right? They're already passionate about whatever you're offering. So don't get so hung up on necessarily brokers or paid ads or trying to grow here. It's look inside your units if it's brick and mortar, and you'll be surprised at how many prospective franchisees you can find there.
Yeah, and yeah, no doubt those are probably the best ones. Very good. So let's jump into it. Why don't you tell us about the research study and what inspired Stretch Zone to conduct this research study on the benefits of stretching?
Yeah, no, there's two things, and we literally are so excited about this. It's been so hard to keep this under wraps. So this started actually last January of last year. We've been working on this, and where what came about, there were two catalysts. One of is like we talked about, we knew anecdotally how powerful the service was. We knew that stretch zone by far is the best stretching modality out there because it is consistent, it's protocol based. And meaning, like, for example, there's other assisted stretching concepts, other assisted stretching methods or modalities you can go and pursue. But one thing we always pride ourselves in is when you have a consistent protocol based method, the stretch you get in Anchorage is going to be the same stretch you get in South Florida, right? Or New York or wherever it might be. And that consistency is key when building a brand, period, plain simple. So we always knew how unique and powerful the service was because we'd hear these testimonials. I mean, we'd have members in tears talking about how Stretch Zone changed their lives. But yet, and Leanne, you touch on this, it was still hard to tell that story, right? When you're still telling someone to come on in and experience it for themselves, they're still hesitant because they don't understand what stretching is or how powerful or how impactful it can be in their life. Because I think they associate stretching with probably touching their toes in PE class when they're in elementary school, and that's about it. And so, we've always combated that with our first stretch is free, and we're committed to continuing that, right? We wanted people to experience it firsthand for themselves. But nonetheless, we would love to have the ability to put data behind the service. We believe so much in the service that we are offering that we were willing to test it thoroughly, right? And have it independently reviewed, have it go through a peer-reviewed journal process, because we believe that the results that we are going to find, we're going to tell the exact story that we were already experiencing firsthand at the unit level. And so that was one catalyst to help our franchisees and to help the brand better tell the story of Stretch Zone and the impact that Stretch Zone can make. The other was we just launched a new vertical of national accounts. And so in the early days of even Stretch Zone, we've always had this demand for corporate wellness and corporate wellness in different aspects, right? So it's not just the retention tool, right, to take care of your employees, your team members, but also corporations, especially in the industrial space, were approaching us looking for workers' comp mitigation, right? And how to go ahead and prevent injury in the workplace and increase productivity. And now that we're at 41 states, 400 plus locations, we actually have the ability to service national accounts. And so having this data to back the service obviously helps validate us with some of these more industrial players, and some of the bigger organizations in the country.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The national partnerships, I was actually curious about that. So I'm sure that with other health and wellness organizations, is it part of like a larger corporations, like
Benefits
they,
package? Mm-mm.
yes, sorry. No.
No, it's really direct B2B with us.
Okay.
And so you got to think not just large business, small businesses. And I think
Yeah,
with especially those in the industrial space right now, there's not a great solution on the workers' comp side.
right.
Um, you have physical therapy, but often a lot of the workplace injuries don't necessarily require physical therapy. And these companies are constantly trying to avoid OSHA reportables and OSHA recordables in any which way. And so they kind of get caught in this middle ground of like they want to do something for their employees. They don't just want to ignore and aches and pains. Um, but they need a better solution, right? That's more cost effective for them. And so I think there's that. But also when we first started doing this study and some of the evidence we've got from different trials that's not related to this clinical trial, um, forget about the preventative injury aspect for a second, but productivity just increased. And I think with the stretch zone method, and that's what we saw in the study, like 66% of our participants in the study reported higher and better energy, right? And feeling better throughout the day. Well, that translates to the workplace, and you're able to prolong that end of day fatigue. That translates to increased productivity in whatever that job is. And that adds some real dollars and cents to a P&L of any kind of company.
Yeah, 100%. So how does this affect your business model as a whole? Because obviously national partnerships
Yeah.
is one, but I would also assume that on the Fran Dev side, like that's really a powerful
Yeah.
piece of work that you have there that potential franchisees would want to buy into.
For sure. I think FranDev, I mean, it speaks for itself. I
Yeah.
mean, this is already a unique service. It's already an industry that I firmly believe has a lot of tailwinds, especially with an aging demographic. And I think people prioritizing health and wellness as a whole continues to trend sky high, over the past, 10 decade and probably next in a few years. So when you have that unique aspect already and a unique offering, just to be able to have the data to back it up. And so like for a prospective franchisee, for any prospective franchisee of any concept in any industry, they want to know how they can differentiate themselves from any competition, or just in general, how do they bolster their value proposition to a consumer. And so for our franchisees, being able to say, yeah, people and members report 66% better energy, 60%, roughly 60% report better sleep when coming to stretch zone for a certain particular time, or those that come in multiple times a week saw 25% greater gains. Those are powerful statements. And so for the consumer that might be hesitant about trying stretch zone for the first time, when they hear that 78% of participants reported reduction in pain, if you have chronic ailments, that's massive, right? And so though that person that may have been hesitant to take us up on the first free stretch, now they're not going to be so resistant. And so that ease of access for the consumer to the franchisee, obviously then the prospective franchisee will realize that they'll be able to reap those benefits once becoming involved in the system.
Yeah, very cool.
That's great. And what was there anything else that came out, like surprising information from the study other than that?
I think what's surprising is a few things because like, listen, when we structured the study and we went about it, when you do a study the proper way, right? So like all these findings meet the threshold of statistical significance. We got published in the Journal of Musculoskeletal Disorders and Treatments, which is a peer-reviewed journal. So when you structure a study, you really have to be unbiased. I mean, you have to let the data tell itself, because if you try to bias a study any which way, whatever stats you're going to find are not going to meet the threshold of FTC health claims. They're not going to meet the threshold of the peer-reviewed journal, the whole nine. And so when we structure the study and had participants range from a control group to coming in multiple times a week, twice a week for an hour each, I think anecdotally, or just kind of common sense, we understood, or the hypothesis was like those that came in more frequently would obviously see greater gains in range of motion, right? Because we took quantitative measurements of how different areas of the body were improving. I think what was more surprising, not surprising, but I guess to the degree, were all those qualitative elements, right? So having a standardized questionnaire involved with this study itself, and being able to say to the degree of statistical significance that we know these people who reported a reduction in pain, or these people who reported better sleep, better energy, that it wasn't due to chance, it was because of the stretch zone method. And being able to make those claims is really powerful. So like I think that was really encouraging, because you never know on the qualitative side like how much
Right.
you might get trendular data, which I mean, like, so in other words, you might say like, hey, there's a trend saying that, but to say to a degree of statistical significance is incredible.
Yeah. So how do you think the role of research shapes kind of the wellness franchise industry? I mean, if
It's
there's so
interesting,
many,
right?
yeah, yeah.
It's actually interesting. I haven't thought about that one too much, but I'm sure it's a question that's going to come up, because I mean, listen, I think we hosted an event with some FranDev professionals, prospective franchisees. We're starting to disseminate this information out very slowly, and we have obviously a big launch, which I know this will be posted after the launch. Um, but I think what's interesting is one of the comments we got is like, we really appreciate the fact that you're willing to test what you believe in. And I think what's interesting is listen, I hope it does kind of tell people in the industry and prospective franchisees or franchisors out there, hey, listen, if you believe you have the best workout, if you believe you have the best treatment, put your money where your mouth is, right? Go get it tested, verify for yourself, and let the results speak for themselves. You can't call yourself the world's best pizza and not go on, the pizza competition, right?
Right.
But I think it's an interesting concept, because I mean, everyone says they have the best workout, the best this and that, and in this day and age, you can pretty much test everything with the right amount of time and thought.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful for you guys, and kind of puts you in your own category just because you've got the research and the data to prove it. That's
Yeah,
unbiased. I think great
yeah,
job. I think really
I,
cool.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And on the side of the franchisees you had mentioned, and I'm not going to ask you about your item 19 or anything, but tell me a little bit about like everyone's happy, things are good, things are the trajectories on the.
They're ecstatic. I mean, there's a lot. I think what can't be. I mean, this cannot be understated. I mean, the amount of legwork that goes into preparing for launch with 400 plus locations in 41 states, I mean, is significant, right? And so we talk about it all the time. This information is powerful. It's exciting. It's cool. But at the end of the day, for our franchisees and what they should care about, and this is our message to them when we started talking about this a year ago or in the past year, is how do we take something that's going to generate a lot of excitement and materialize it into better unit level economics and better profitability for our franchisees? So in other words, like how do you take this info, disseminate it, metabolize it down to where it will create upselling opportunities, right, for our franchisees on memberships. It'll be a retention tool for our franchisees. It'll enhance conversion percentage. It'll drive down lead costs on paid ads. And so the study itself is its own behemoth to get that done. But then the second part of it, which honestly at the time I didn't even think about when we started the study, the second big lift was making sure that we have all the in-studio collateral to back it up, right? And to tell that story for the franchisee to get the teams trained up. You know, our COO, Jordan Levine, and his team just went on a 26 city roadshow throughout the entire country in the last 2.5 weeks, meeting with all of our team members in studio. We had 1,000 plus attendees overall, but meeting with the team members to getting them up to speed, getting them confident on how to implement this new data into their day-to-day talk tracks, sales tracks, whatever it might be. And so, no, the franchisees are excited. I think the hard part is, quite frankly, making sure that they don't spill it before it goes out live, because they are so excited about it.
I have a question. So you talked about retention and better conversion and all of that
Yeah.
stuff, which is great. How are you advising your franchisees on a local level? Like how can you use it in a top of funnel kind of way?
Yeah, so there's when you see throughout the launch, I'm not sure when this is going out.
The 17th.
17th. Okay, so by the 17th, for everyone listening, at this point in time, I'm going to tell the future right now. It'll be very exciting. Right? So we'll have a major launch coming out on the 10th where it's going to be front facing, right? So we have effectively a satellite media tour for our regional. Our brand partner, Drew Brees, was just inducted in the Hall of Fame last night, which we were aware of. And so obviously me alongside him, we're going to have some major publications coming out on Wednesday of next week. We're doing an influencer event ahead of the 17th, because I believe the 17th is on a Tuesday, if I'm
Yes.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing in Tuesday or starting that week on the 16th. So like, first of all, you're generating all this awareness from this PR splash, like on Tuesday and Wednesday in general. And so like, that's what we're trying to do on behalf for our franchisees at franchisor level. The franchisees, we've sent out marketing boxes with ceiling hangers, a full infographic that tells the entire story of the study
Oh, cool.
in a very seamless way. We have rack cards, we have floor stickers, we have stickers for the acrylics telling the story and about all these like different sales tactics. So what they're going to do on this next Monday night is we're calling it an unboxing party. So the entire country overnight is going to hang up and put all this stuff up to generate awareness with their existing member base that's coming in. So a member walking in will literally feel like they're walking into a brand new studio. So that generates awareness from a member perspective. But then how do we go about, again, taking that, materializing it into real lead flow at the top of funnel? And so that next week, starting on the week of the 16th, we're going to have a referral contest in studio. We're going to hand out awards. So the members and so our team members will go ahead and solicit referrals from our existing client base, member base that are coming in the door. And so we've gamified that in a bunch of different ways. It's very effective. But that's the way they can then create tangible leads. And at the end of the week of the 17th, which for everyone listening here on the 17th, if you've never tried Stretch Zone, we are doing a national grand reopening on the 21st. And
cool.
so across the country, you find a Stretch Zone nearest you. We're going to do a ribbon cutting across all of our locations on the same day, effectively reintroducing the brand to the general consumer. And so that'll be a great way for the communities that we serve to go ahead and check us out.
It's really smart. Well, congratulations. Sounds like a great way for you to create some impact in the communities, and sounds like you've kind of really got it together on this big launch. We're excited for you.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully everything I just said comes true by the time
I'll check in on Lindsay, see how she's doing.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah.
This has been fantastic. Tony, if someone wants to get a hold of you, if they want more information, talk about Stretch Zone, maybe prospective franchisees, what's the best way to kind of reach out? Is it LinkedIn? Is it go to the website?
Best way, especially for prospective franchisees, obviously go to the website, www.stretchzone.com. Learn more information. If you want to connect with me directly, LinkedIn's a great method. Or feel free to shoot me an email. But I think LinkedIn's probably the best way to go about it.
Sounds good.
Amazing.
Michael, you sure you don't want to talk about your Leafs? I mean, it's been a little bit of a
Yeah.
tumultuous year for you before we hop off.
You know, from going to winning the division last year to barely not even in a playoff spot yet, it's it's just typical Leafs stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, but this year's the year, right?
yeah, it's always our year since '67. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Anyway.
But the
But
Lightning
anyways,
are killing it, so
Oh,
my
well.
rebuttal to you Tampa fans is always that it's okay that you won the cup a few years back, but you did it with my Toronto folks. Steve Stamkos literally lived like a block away from me, and
So I'm gonna tell you a quick bit. I don't know if this gets cut in or not. That's fine. So my son, I've brainwashed him. We live here in South Florida, but he's a Tampa fan, like diehard, and my daughter. And so like he
as
knows.
long as they're not Panthers fans,
No, absolutely not. No, I know better than that. They know better than that. And he's like 5, right? And so he knows all the numbers. Like literally Hagel gave him a puck, so he's a big Hagel fan. Like, and I have a dilemma because the Olympics are starting, and but like on the entire Lightning team except for Getzel is on Team Canada. Like John Cooper's on Team Canada, and so I'm like having this dilemma where like he's like, well, Team Canada. I'm like, no. Team USA is what you got to root for, and he's like, I don't understand why.
It's very confusing.
Very confusing. But anyway.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Tony. Appreciate having you on, and good luck with this big launch. Very exciting.
Appreciate the time, guys.
And
All right,
this segment is brought to you by Franchise at the National Franchise Show. Our next segment is Franchise Mingle. Leanne, why don't you take it away? Hit us with what's coming up.
Michael's internet is going a little bit loopy, so I've got to take this part on. But yeah, so for the upcoming events, we will be at the IFA here in just a couple of weeks. And spring national franchise shows, Houston in March, Chicago, Orlando in April, New England, Providence, and Boston in May, Washington, D.C. and Virginia, May, and Portland, Oregon, June 13th and 14th. And then we'd love for you guys to save the date for the Hello Mastermind Spring Retreat in Portland, Maine, May 18th through the 20th, Franchise Marketing Live in Denver, Colorado, November 2 through 3, and Hello Mastermind Fall Retreat in Denver, Colorado, November 4 through 5th. This episode is brought to you by Netsertive, Papirfly, Franchise Assembly, and the National Franchise Show. Have any final thoughts?
Good night, folks. Thank you for joining us again. We'll see you in 2 weeks.